Dr. Elena Martinez stared at her quantum resonance display, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The patterns shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, yet there they were, pulsing with an impossible regularity that defied everything she knew about random quantum fluctuations. 3 months of sleepless nights in her underground laboratory at the Quantum Defense Initiative had led to this moment. "Director Walsh," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I think you need to see this." The facilities director appeared at her shoulder, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the monitors. "Talk to me, Elena. What are we looking at?" "They're not random," she said, pulling up multiple data streams. "The quantum interference patterns we've been detecting in our defense networks, they're coded communications. Someone's been watching us, learning about us, for years." Walsh's expression hardened. "You're sure?" Elena nodded, bringing up a three-dimensional representation of the signal patterns. "These are too structured to be natural phenomena. What's more, they're embedded in our most secure quantum networks. Whoever did this has technology far beyond anything we've acknowledged existing." The implications hung heavy in the air. Humanity had thought itself alone in the galaxy, or at least undiscovered. The Quantum Defense Initiative had been created to push the boundaries of Earth's defensive capabilities, not to uncover evidence of alien surveillance. "Admiral Patel needs to see this immediately," Walsh said, already reaching for his secure comm. "How long do you think they've been watching?" "Based on the degradation patterns in the older signals." Elena pulled up another display. "At least 15 years. They're called the Meridians." Walsh froze. "How do you know their name?" "Because I didn't just crack their code," Elena said, allowing herself a small smile. "I broke into their network. They never expected us to detect their quantum communications, let alone decrypt them. They've gotten careless." Within hours, the facility's command center was packed with military brass and scientific experts. Elena stood before them, explaining how she discovered the invisible threads of alien communication woven through Earth's quantum infrastructure. "The Meridians believe themselves technologically superior," she explained, displaying intercepted communications. "They've been studying our responses to various crises, testing our capabilities through manufactured incidents. The Singapore AI malfunction last year. The Mars colony communication blackout. All them." Admiral Patel, a compact woman with steel-gray hair and harder eyes, leaned forward. "And their intention?" "Conquest," Elena said simply. "But not through direct military action. They believe they've found our weakness, our dependence on quantum computing networks. They plan to trigger a cascading failure across all our systems, leaving us defenseless." The room erupted in concerned murmurs, but Patel raised a hand for silence. "When?" 3 days. "But they've made a critical mistake." Elena brought up new data streams, these marked in red. "They think they understand quantum mechanics better than we do. They don't realize we've been preparing for something like this since we first developed quantum computing." "Project Blacklight," Walsh said softly. "It's ready." Elena nodded. "More than ready. While they were studying our apparent vulnerabilities, we were studying their communication patterns. We've mapped their entire network. When they trigger their attack, we can reverse it," Patel finished, a predatory smile crossing her face. "Turn their own quantum network against them." "Exactly," Elena confirmed. "But we need to let them think they've succeeded, at least initially. If we reveal our hand too soon, they might change tactics." The next 72 hours were a blur of preparation. Elena and her team worked tirelessly, refining their countermeasures while maintaining the illusion of ignorance. The Meridians continued their surveillance, their quantum signals growing more frequent as they prepared for their masterstroke. When the attack came, it was both more and less dramatic than anyone had expected. There was no warning, no ultimatum. Earth's quantum networks began to fail in a carefully orchestrated cascade. Power grids flickered, defense systems went dark, and communication satellites fell silent. For exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds, Earth appeared defenseless. Then Elena activated Project Blacklight. The quantum backlash was spectacular. Every Meridian surveillance system, every hidden probe, every cloaked ship in the solar system suddenly became visible as their quantum networks collapsed. Their entire invasion fleet, hidden behind Jupiter, found itself not only exposed but trapped as their quantum drive systems failed. "Send the message," Patel ordered. Elena typed quickly, transmitting directly through the Meridian's own network. "Your evaluation of humanity's capabilities was flawed. We suggest immediate diplomatic contact to discuss terms." The response came quickly, tinged with what Elena's translation algorithm identified as shock. "Impossible. Your species cannot have this level of quantum manipulation." Elena allowed herself a grim smile as she sent the reply. "Humanity has a long history of achieving the impossible. Shall we begin negotiations?" As the first official diplomatic contact between humanity and the Meridians began, Elena couldn't help but reflect on the irony. The aliens had spent 15 years studying humanity's weaknesses, never realizing they were revealing their own. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to turn disadvantage into opportunity, defeat into victory. The Meridians were about to learn this lesson firsthand. The Meridian delegation entered the Geneva Conference Center like beings who had never contemplated the possibility of defeat. Their crystalline bodies refracted light in complex patterns, a display that Admiral Patel recognized as a sign of barely contained agitation. Beside her, Elena Martinez continued monitoring quantum fluctuations on her tablet, ready for any hint of deception. "Your species," the Meridian Prime Speaker's translated voice resonated through the chamber, "has violated established protocols of technological development. This is unprecedented." Admiral Patel raised an eyebrow. "Unprecedented? Like secretly infiltrating a planet's defense systems for 15 years? The Prime Speaker's crystalline form flickered with patterns that Elena's software identified as embarrassment. "We were conducting standard evaluation procedures." "You were preparing for invasion," Elena interrupted, not looking up from her tablet. "And you're still trying to probe our quantum defenses. I would suggest stopping that in the next 30 seconds, or we'll be forced to demonstrate more of our unprecedented capabilities." The secondary patterns in the Meridian delegation's crystalline forms ceased immediately. Elena allowed herself a small smile. They were learning. "Perhaps," the Prime Speaker conceded, "we should discuss terms of mutual cooperation." "Perhaps we should," Patel agreed. "But first, let me show you something." She nodded to Elena, who activated the main display. The holographic projection showed a detailed map of Meridian space, including military installations that the aliens had believed completely hidden. Their reaction, a sudden stiffening of their crystalline forms, confirmed what humanity had suspected. They had no idea how compromised their security was. How? The Prime Speaker's translation carried unmistakable shock. "Project Blacklight wasn't just a defensive system," Elena explained. "When you triggered your attack, it gave us access to your entire quantum network. We now have a complete map of your civilization, including those interesting phase-shifted weapon platforms around your homeworld." The Meridian's forms pulsed with patterns that set all the warning algorithms screaming. Elena's hand moved to her console, ready to activate countermeasures, but Patel's slight head shake stopped her. "Before you consider any aggressive action," Patel said calmly, "you should know that we've already neutralized those platforms. They're still there, still apparently functional, but attempt to activate them and, well..." She smiled. "Let's just say quantum entanglement can be redirected in fascinating ways." The Prime Speaker's form stabilized, but the patterns now showed what Elena's software labeled as fear. "You have taken our children hostage." "No," Elena corrected firmly. "We've prevented you from using weapons of mass destruction. There's a difference. We're not conquerors, despite what your evaluation protocols led you to believe." We're offering partnership, not subjugation. The display shifted to show new data, trade routes, technological exchange proposals, joint defense initiatives. Plans that Elena and her team had prepared not for conquest, but for cooperation. Humanity has always understood something that your species seems to have forgotten, Patel continued. True strength doesn't come from superior technology or military might. It comes from adaptation, cooperation, and the ability to turn potential enemies into allies. And if we refuse? The Prime Speaker's question carried an edge of defiance. Elena brought up another display, this one showing the quantum signature of Earth's defensive grid. The Meridian's forms rippled with what could only be described as awe. That's not possible, one of their scientists broke protocol to speak. The energy requirements alone. Quantum mechanics works differently when you understand all the rules, Elena said. Your species has barely scratched the surface. We've been developing these technologies since before you began your surveillance, not because we knew about you specifically, but because humanity has always prepared for the possibility of contact, both peaceful and hostile. The conference room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Meridians had come expecting to negotiate from a position of strength, only to find themselves confronted with capabilities they hadn't believed possible. Your terms, the Prime Speaker finally said, their crystalline form are now showing patterns of resignation and, surprisingly, curiosity. Admiral Patel laid out humanity's proposal. Joint scientific ventures. Cultural exchange programs. Controlled sharing of technology. Most importantly, a new approach to first contact protocols that would prevent future conflicts born of misunderstanding and assumption. As the negotiations proceeded, Elena noticed something interesting in the Meridian's quantum signatures. Beneath the formal diplomatic exchanges, their scientists were already adapting, learning, beginning to understand the principles that humanity had discovered decades ago. They were evolving. They're not just accepting the terms, she whispered to Patel. They're already starting to integrate our theoretical frameworks into their understanding. Give them a few years of cooperation, and they might actually surprise us. Patel nodded slightly. That's exactly what we're counting on. The galaxy's a big place. We're going to need allies who can keep up. The meeting concluded with the signing of the Earth-Meridian Cooperation Treaty. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, the Prime Speaker approached Elena. Your species, they said, their crystalline form showing patterns of genuine respect, has taught us something we had forgotten in our pursuit of technological superiority. The greatest power lies not in the ability to defeat one's enemies, but in the wisdom to transform them into friends. Elena smiled. That's just the first lesson. Wait until we show you what happens when we start working together. As the Meridians departed, their ships now visible and welcomed in Earth's orbit, Elena couldn't help but feel optimistic. Humanity had faced its first major interstellar crisis not with violence, but with intelligence, preparation, and an outstretched hand. The real challenge, and the real adventure, was just beginning. 6 months after the Earth-Meridian Treaty, Elena Martinez found herself aboard the newly commissioned joint research vessel Copernicus, staring at data that made her previous discoveries seem trivial. Beside her, the Meridian scientist Zavax's crystalline form pulsed with patterns that her translation software now recognized as excitement. The ARC Collective will not wait for diplomatic solutions, Zavax's translated voice carried undertones of urgency. They view our alliance with humanity as a threat to their dominion over the Carina arm. Elena studied the quantum intercepts showing the movement of the ARC Collective's biomechanical fleet. The ARCs, a species that had evolved alongside their technology until the line between organic and mechanical became meaningless, had dominated their section of the galaxy through technological superiority. The idea of younger species developing competitive quantum technologies threatened everything they had built. How long do we have, she asked, already running calculations. Their fleet will reach the Meridian border in 72 hours, Zavax replied. They believe our quantum networks are still compromised from your countermeasure. They do not know about Project Aurora. Elena allowed herself a grim smile. Project Aurora had been the direct result of human meridian cooperation, a quantum defense system that made their previous technologies look primitive. But it was untested in actual combat. Admiral Patel, she activated the quantum comm. I think it's time for Phase 2. The response was immediate. The ARC Collective took the bait. They're committed. Full biomechanical fleet deployment, just as we predicted. They think they're exploiting our weakness. They have no idea they're walking into the largest quantum trap ever created. The plan had been months in the making. While the public face of Earth Meridian cooperation focused on cultural exchange and basic technology sharing, their joint military and scientific teams had been preparing for the inevitable challenge to their alliance. The ARC Collective's aggressive response was exactly what they had anticipated. Begin evacuation of the border colonies, Patel ordered. Let them think we're running scared. Elena watched as the quantum network lit up with seemingly panicked communications and rushed evacuations. The Meridian border worlds appeared to be scrambling in disarray, their defenses falling back in disorganized retreat. It was a masterful performance. Zavax's crystalline form showed patterns of what Elena had learned was their version of appreciation. Your species' understanding of psychological warfare is impressive. The ARC Collective's tactical algorithms are interpreting exactly what we want them to see. Humanity's history is full of examples of apparent defeat turning into victory, Elena explained. Sometimes the best way to win a battle is to convince your enemy they've already won. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation disguised as panic. The Copernicus, along with a fleet of Earth Meridian ships, appeared to flee from the advancing ARC Collective. In reality, each retreating vessel was laying down an invisible web of quantum-entangled particles, the foundation of Project Aurora. When the ARC Collective finally crossed the Meridian border, their biomechanical ships moved with the absolute confidence of a force that knew its own superiority. Their quantum sensors detected no significant defenses, their tactical computers calculated a 99.97% chance of success. They never saw the trap until it was too late. Now, Elena commanded. Zavax activated the quantum matrix. Across 3 light-years of space, the carefully laid web of entangled particles activated simultaneously. The effect was beyond even their most optimistic simulations. The ARC Collective's biomechanical ships suddenly found themselves operating in a space where quantum mechanics simply worked differently. Their hybrid organic technological systems, dependent on precise quantum states, began to fail in cascading waves. By the void, Zavax's translation came through thick with awe. The scale of the quantum state manipulation, it's beautiful. Elena had to agree. The tactical display showed the ARC Collective fleet trapped in a quantum bubble where their technological advantages meant nothing. Their ships, each one a marvel of biomechanical engineering, were reduced to drifting hulks. Attention ARC Collective Fleet, Admiral Patel's voice broadcast across all frequencies. You have entered Earth Meridian Alliance space without authorization. Your weapons and propulsion systems have been neutralized. Prepare to be boarded. The response from the ARC Collective came not in words but in a burst of quantum data. Elena's translation software took several seconds to process it. They're laughing, she said incredulously. Not laughing, Zavax corrected. The closest translation would be acknowledging with respect. They are a species that values technological achievement above all else. We just proved ourselves their equals, if not their superiors. The next transmission from the ARC Collective was more formal, we acknowledge the demonstration. Perhaps, discussion would be beneficial. Elena exchanged looks with Zavax, whose crystalline patterns now showed clear amusement. Did we just accidentally make first contact with the ARC Collective by proving we could outthink them? It would appear so. Zavax's patterns shifted to something more contemplative. They will make interesting allies, once they adjust to the idea of not being the most advanced species in their sector. As the joint Earth-Meridian fleet moved to secure the disabled Ark Collective ships, Elena couldn't help but marvel at how quickly the galaxy was changing. 6 months ago, humanity had been considered a primitive species worthy only of conquest. Now they were helping to reshape the balance of power across multiple sectors. "You know," she said to Zavax, "I think we're going to need a bigger conference room for all these diplomatic meetings." The Meridian scientists' forum pulsed with what Elena now recognized as their equivalent of laughter. "Perhaps we should design one with quantum-enhanced translation systems. I have some ideas about improving cross-species communication." Elena smiled. This was how progress really happened, not through conquest or domination, but through cooperation, innovation, and the occasional cleverly sprung trap. The Grand Assembly Hall of the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Center on Luna was a testament to how much had changed in just 1 year. Elena Martinez stood at the quantum-enhanced podium, looking out at what might be the most diverse gathering of species ever assembled in the Milky Way. Crystalline meridians pulsed with thoughtful light patterns. Biomechanical Ark Collective representatives hummed with quantum resonance. The newly arrived Void Weavers, beings of pure energy contained in engineered shells, flickered with interest. And these were just the species willing to show themselves physically, dozens more attended via quantum projection. Project Harmony, Elena began, bringing up a holographic display that filled the vast chamber, represents the next evolution in our understanding of quantum mechanics and interspecies cooperation. The display showed a complex network of interconnected quantum fields, each operating on slightly different principles. It was the culmination of a year's worth of joint research between Earth, the Meridians, and the Ark Collective. As we've learned, she continued, each of our species approaches quantum mechanics from a unique perspective. The Meridians mastered quantum crystalline computing. The Ark Collective developed biomechanical quantum integration. Humanity discovered quantum state manipulation. But together, she activated the simulation. The chamber filled with gasps, clicks, and quantum pulses of astonishment as the display showed the 3 technologies merging into something entirely new. Even Admiral Patel, standing at the back of the hall, looked impressed. "Together," Elena said, "we've created something that none of us could have achieved alone. A quantum network that adapts to each species' natural affinity while enhancing our ability to communicate and cooperate across vast distances." A Void Weaver representative floated forward, their containment shell glowing with intense curiosity. "We observe potential beyond mere communication," their quantum-translated voice resonated. "This network could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production." "Exactly," Elena smiled. "Which is why we're sharing it with everyone." The chamber erupted in shocked reactions. The idea of freely sharing such advanced technology went against millennia of galactic politics. But that was precisely the point. Zavax, now Earth's primary liaison with the Meridian scientific community, stepped forward to join Elena. "Our species learned the hard way that technological superiority means nothing without understanding. Project Harmony isn't just a network, it's a foundation for a new way of existing together." An Ark Collective representative, their biomechanical form shifting with complex patterns, transmitted their agreement. "Our attempted conquest of Meridian space led to greater advancement through cooperation than we could have achieved through victory. The old paradigms no longer serve." Elena was about to respond and every quantum sensor in the chamber suddenly spiked. The display showing Project Harmony flickered, then shifted to show a massive disturbance at the edge of known space. "What are we looking at?" Admiral Patel demanded, already moving forward. A Void Weaver analyst responded first, their energy form pulsing rapidly. "Quantum rupture. Massive. Something is coming through from elsewhere." The assembly watched in stunned silence as the rupture grew, its edges writhing with impossible geometries. Then, through the tear in space-time, they came, ships unlike anything any species had ever encountered, moving in ways that defied known physics. "First contact situation," Patel announced calmly. All species maintain Protocol Alpha. No aggressive actions. Elena's quantum sensors were going crazy, trying to analyze the newcomers. Their quantum signature, it's like nothing we've seen before. They're operating on principles we haven't even theorized. No, Zavax corrected, their crystalline form showing patterns of revelation. Look at the harmonic resonance. It's not that we haven't theorized it, it's that we've only just created the framework to understand it. In Project Harmony, understanding dawned on Elena as she analyzed the data. The mysterious ships weren't just using advanced technology, they were using principles that perfectly aligned with the theoretical extensions of Project Harmony's unified quantum framework. They're not here by accident, she realized. They waited until we were ready, until we had developed enough to understand them. The first transmission from the unknown ships confirmed her theory. It came simultaneously through every quantum channel, perfectly adapted to each species' method of communication. Greetings, young ones. We are the custodians. Your creation of a unified quantum framework indicates you are ready for the next step. There is much to discuss. As the assembly erupted in excited communications, Elena exchanged looks with Zavax and their ARC Collective colleagues. They had thought Project Harmony would change their understanding of the galaxy. They hadn't imagined it would literally open a door to something far beyond. Well, Admiral Patel said dryly, I suppose we're going to need an even bigger conference room. Elena laughed, but her mind was already racing with the implications. Humanity had gone from a supposedly primitive species to helping forge a galactic coalition in just over a year. Now they were about to learn just how deep the quantum rabbit hole really went. The custodians' ships moved into orbit around Luna, their impossible geometries somehow both beautiful and unsettling. As preparations began for yet another first contact scenario, Elena couldn't help but feel that everything up to this point, the Meridian Crisis, the ARC Collective confrontation, Project Harmony itself, had been a test. And somehow, working together, they had passed. The custodian's vessel defied conventional architecture. Elena Martinez walked through corridors that seemed to fold through dimensions beyond normal space, accompanied by representatives from each major species in their coalition. Zavax's crystalline form shimmered with complex patterns of awe, while their ARC Collective colleagues' biomechanical systems hummed in resonance with the ship's quantum field. Their host, a being that appeared to exist simultaneously in multiple quantum states, led them to what they could only assume was a conference room, though its boundaries seemed to shift with each passing moment. Your coalition represents something unprecedented, the custodians' words manifested directly in their minds, perfectly comprehensible to each species. In all our millennia of watching young civilizations develop, we have never seen such rapid progression from conflict to genuine cooperation. You've been watching us? Admiral Patel asked, ever the tactician. For how long? Since the first quantum experiment, the custodian replied. Every species eventually discovers quantum mechanics. Most treat it as a tool. Some, like the Meridians and Arcs, build their civilizations around it. But you. The being's form shifted, focusing on Elena. Humanity did something different. Elena felt the weight of ancient knowledge behind those words. We treated it as a language, she said, understanding dawning. Not just for computing or technology, but for understanding reality itself. Precisely. The custodian's form rippled with what might have been approval. And when you met other species, instead of using that knowledge for dominance, we used it to build bridges. Zavax completed the thought, their crystalline form pulsing with revelation. Project Harmony wasn't just a technological achievement. It was proof of concept, the ARC Collective representative added, their biomechanical systems synchronizing with the ship's frequencies. Proof that different approaches to quantum mechanics could be unified. The custodian's form expanded, filling the room with patterns of light that seemed to encode the history of the universe itself. What you call quantum mechanics is merely the surface of a deeper reality. Your Project Harmony scratched that surface. We are here to help you dig deeper. The being gestured, and the room transformed into a vast display of the cosmos, but not as they knew it. They saw layers upon layers of reality, dimensions folding into each other, time flowing in multiple directions simultaneously. This, the custodian explained, is what reality looks like when you understand all the rules. Your coalition has proven ready to take the first steps toward this understanding. But why now? Patel asked. Why not contact us earlier? Or wait longer? Because of them, the custodian's form shifted, revealing a new image, vast structures moving between galaxies, operating on principles that made even Project Harmony look primitive. The precursors are returning. They seeded this galaxy with life billions of years ago, conducting experiments in evolution. They will want to evaluate the results. Elena felt a chill. And if we fail their evaluation? They will start over, the custodian stated simply. Unless the galaxy's species can prove they have evolved beyond the need for such oversight. Your coalition represents the first real possibility of that happening. The room erupted in multiple forms of communication as each species processed this information. Elena's mind raced with the implications. Everything, the Meridian Crisis, the confrontation with the Ark Collective, the development of Project Harmony, had led to this moment. How long do we have? She asked. By your measurements, 50 years, the custodian replied. A moment in cosmic terms, but perhaps enough time if we work quickly. Your species' particular talent for creative problem-solving, combined with the unique capabilities of your allies, could give us a fighting chance, Patel finished. She looked around at their assembled allies. I assume everyone's in. The response was unanimous, expressed in everything from quantum pulses to crystalline light patterns to biomechanical resonance. In just over a year, they had gone from separate species pursuing their own interests to a unified coalition. Now they faced their greatest challenge together. There is something else you should know, the custodian added, its form shifting to show new patterns. We were like you once. We faced our own evaluation. We chose to remain and help other species reach their potential rather than ascend further. The precursors called it sentiment. We call it wisdom. Elena looked at her allies, being so different in form and origin, yet now united in purpose. They thought sentiment was a weakness, she said. But it's what brought us together. It's why we chose cooperation over conquest. And that, the custodian's form brightened, is precisely why you have a chance. The precursors understand power. They understand technology. But they have never understood the strength that comes from genuine cooperation. As they began discussing the details of their preparation, Elena reflected on how far they had come. A year ago, humanity had been facing alien infiltration, seemingly outmatched and alone. Now they stood at the forefront of a galactic coalition, preparing to prove that evolution meant more than mere technological advancement. The quantum realm held more mysteries than they had imagined, and the challenges ahead were greater than anything they had faced. But they would face them together, each species contributing its unique perspective to a greater whole. The silent invasion that had started this journey had led not to conquest or subjugation, but to something far more valuable, a future where the combined potential of multiple species might just be enough to change the course of galactic evolution itself. As Elena looked out at her allies, she smiled. They had 50 years to prove that cooperation was the ultimate evolutionary advantage. The real adventure was just beginning.